Look at her, stumbling around like a broken doll. Does daddy's money buy you vision too? The laughter that followed was sharp and cruel, echoing off the crystal chandeliers of Ginho's luxury restaurant. Minji's fingers tightened around her white cane, her shoulders hunching inward as if she could make herself disappear. The silk of her dress trembled with each shallow breath. I heard she can't even dress herself, another voice chimed in, a woman's tone dripping with false sympathy. Such a burden on a man like Ginho. Imagine running an empire with a defective daughter. Amara's grip on the silver tray turned her knuckles pale. She stood frozen near the kitchen entrance, watching the scene unfold like a nightmare in slow motion. The banquet hall was filled with Seoul's elite, men in tailored suits worth more than her annual salary, women draped in diamonds that could feed families for years. And not a single one of them moved to help. Minji's cane slipped from her fingers, clattering against the marble floor. The blind girl knelt to search for it, her hands sweeping uselessly across the cold stone. The elites laughed harder. Like a dog searching for scraps, someone muttered. That was when Amara moved. Her tray hit the nearest table with a crash that silenced the room. Silverware scattered. Wine glasses toppled, spilling crimson across white linen like blood. Every head turned toward her. Say that again. Amara's voice was low, dangerous. She stepped between Minji and the crowd, her dark skin gleaming under the chandelier light. I dare you. The man who'd spoken first, a businessman with gray temples and a face like spoiled meat, stood slowly. His companions flanked him, emboldened by numbers and entitlement. Who do you think you are? He sneered, looking her up and down. A waitress playing hero? Amara didn't flinch. I'm someone who knows when to shut up. You should try it. Before I tell you what happened next, subscribe to Mystic Tale by Luna and comment where you're watching from. The businessman's face flushed crimson. He lunged forward, shoving Amara hard enough that she stumbled backward. Her heel caught on the edge of a broken champagne flute. Time seemed to slow as she fell toward a table littered with shattered glass, the jagged edges glinting like teeth ready to bite. Then the world exploded. Gunshots cracked through the air, 3 precise shots into the ceiling. Plaster rained down. The crowd screamed and scattered, elegant facades crumbling into panic. Armed men in black suits poured through every entrance, their weapons raised, faces carved from stone. And through the chaos walked Ginho. He didn't rush. Didn't need to. His presence alone was a weapon. 6 feet of controlled violence wrapped in a perfectly tailored suit that probably cost more than Amara's life. His face was all sharp angles and dead eyes, the kind of beautiful that warned you not to touch. Power radiated from him like heat from a furnace, suffocating and absolute. The businessman who'd shoved Amara went white. Mr. Ginho, on your knees. 2 words. Quiet. Deadly. The businessman dropped like his strings had been cut. His companions followed, their earlier arrogance evaporating into whimpers. Ginho's men formed a semicircle around them, fingers resting on triggers, waiting. Amara pushed herself up from the floor, her palms stinging from broken glass. She should have been terrified. Every instinct screamed at her to run, to disappear into the kitchen and never look back. But Minji was still on her knees, searching blindly for her cane, tears streaming down her porcelain face. Amara grabbed the cane and pressed it into the girl's trembling hands. I've got you, she whispered. Minji's fingers latched onto Amara's wrist with desperate strength. The blind girl's face turned toward her, eyes unseeing but somehow knowing. Then she stood, pulling Amara with her, and stumbled toward her father's voice. Appa. Minji's voice broke on the word. She found Ginho's arm and clung to it, then reached back to pull Amara closer. Appa, she saved me. When no one else cared, she saved me. The restaurant held its breath. Ginho's gaze shifted from his daughter to Amara. His eyes were black ice, calculating, merciless, searching for weakness. She forced herself to meet that stare, even as her heart hammered against her ribs. Up close, she could see the scar that cut through his left eyebrow, the barely contained violence in the set of his jaw. You work here? His voice was soft, almost gentle. That made it more terrifying. Yes. Amara's throat was dry, but she kept her chin up. I'm a waitress. Not anymore. The words landed like a verdict. Ginho turned to the businessman still kneeling on the floor, his expression never changing. You insulted my daughter in my establishment. You put your hands on someone under my roof. He pulled a gun from inside his jacket with the casualness of checking his phone. Give me one reason I shouldn't end you here. Please, I didn't know. You knew she was blind. Ginho pressed the barrel against the man's forehead. You knew she was mine. That's all you needed to know. Ginho. Amara's voice cut through the tension before she could stop herself. Every gun in the room swung toward her. She swallowed hard. Your daughter's watching. She doesn't need to hear this. Silence stretched like a wire about to snap. Ginho's finger rested on the trigger. His men waited. Minji's grip on Amara's wrist tightened until it hurt. Then Ginho lowered the gun. Get out. He didn't raise his voice. Didn't need to. All of you. If I see any of your faces again, I'll forget I showed mercy. The elite scrambled for the exits like rats fleeing a sinking ship. The businessman left a wet stain on the marble where he'd knelt. Within seconds, the restaurant emptied until only Ginho's men remained, silent sentinels watching their boss with unreadable expressions. Ginho holstered his weapon and turned back to Amara. Minji still held both of them, a bridge between two worlds that had no business touching. You. Ginho's eyes bored into her. What's your name? Amara. Nigerian? Yes. He studied her for a long moment, his expression giving away nothing. Then he looked down at his daughter, at the way Minji pressed against Amara's side like she'd found something precious. Amara. He tasted the name. You risked your life tonight. For a stranger. Why? She thought about lying, about giving him the answer he wanted to hear. But those dead eyes would see through any deception. Because no one else was going to. Something flickered across Ginho's face, surprise, maybe, or recognition. It vanished before she could name it. He stepped closer, close enough that she could smell his cologne, expensive and cold. My daughter needs a caretaker. Someone brave enough to stand between her and the world. His hand lifted, and Amara's breath caught, but he only brushed a strand of her hair back from her face with surprising gentleness. You. Stay. It wasn't a request. Minji smiled for the first time that night, her fingers weaving through Amara's. Please stay, she whispered. Amara looked from the blind girl to her father, to the armed men watching this impossible scene unfold. She thought of her tiny apartment, her minimum wage job, the ordinary life she'd been living until 5 minutes ago. Then she thought of Minji on her knees, searching for her cane, while the world laughed. I'll stay. Ginho's lips curved into something that wasn't quite a smile. Good. He turned to his men. Clear the restaurant. We're closing for renovations. Then, over his shoulder to Amara, follow me. We have much to discuss. He walked toward the back entrance, Minji following the sound of his footsteps. Amara stood frozen for a heartbeat, her mind screaming warnings her body refused to heed. She didn't know if she'd just been saved or sentenced. But as she followed the dangerous Mafia lord and his blind daughter into the shadows, she knew with absolute certainty that her life would never be ordinary again. Ginho's office was all dark wood and darker secrets. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked Seoul's glittering skyline, but the view felt like a threat, a reminder of how far there was to fall. Amara stood before his desk, Minji's hand still clutched in hers, while armed guards flanked the door. Sit. Ginho gestured to the leather chair across from him. Amara guided Minji down first, then took her own seat. The blind girl's fingers found hers again immediately, anchoring herself. Ginho leaned back, studying Amara with the intensity of a predator deciding whether to kill or keep. You walked into a room full of Seoul's most dangerous people and challenged them. Either you're brave or stupid. Maybe both. His eyebrow lifted fractionally. Why risk your life for a stranger? She wasn't a stranger. She was a girl being hurt, and I was the only one who saw it. Amara met his gaze without flinching, because no one else cared. Silence filled the space between them, heavy and assessing. Minji's grip tightened, as if afraid Amara might disappear. My daughter needs protection. Ginho's voice dropped lower. Not just from outsiders. From this world I've built around her. You'll stay in the East Wing, teach her what she needs to know, and never leave her side in public. I'm not a bodyguard.
No.
You're something rarer. He stood, buttoning his jacket with precise movements. You give a damn. In my world, that's more valuable than any weapon. Amara opened her mouth to argue, but Minji spoke first. Please, Amara. I've never had anyone who, her voice cracked, who treated me like I wasn't broken. The words hit harder than any threat Ginho could make. Okay, Amara whispered. I'll stay. Ginho's expression didn't change, but something shifted in his eyes. Approval, maybe, or recognition of a kindred stubbornness. Good. We start tomorrow. The first week was war. Ginho had rules for everything. How Minji should dress, speak, move through rooms like a ghost trying not to disturb the living. Amara broke every single one. She needs sunlight, Amara announced on day 3, wheeling Minji toward the garden despite protests from security. Mr. Ginho didn't authorize. Then, he can fire me. She pushed past them, Minji laughing breathlessly beside her. They spent the afternoon among roses, Amara describing colors Minji had never seen, inventing wild comparisons that made the girl giggle. Red is like the feeling right before you sneeze. That makes no sense. Minji protested, grinning.
Exactly.
Neither does keeping you locked inside like a secret. When Ginho found them, his jaw was tight with barely controlled fury. But Minji was smiling, really smiling for the first time in months. He said nothing, just turned and walked away, his coat snapping behind him like a whip crack. By week 2, Amara had reorganized Minji's room, taught her to navigate by memory and sound, started reading her books Ginho had deemed inappropriate. The girl bloomed under attention that didn't treat her like porcelain. You're changing her, Ginho said one evening, appearing in the doorway while Amara helped Minji practice walking without her cane. I'm reminding her she's alive. His eyes narrowed. In my world, being alive is dangerous. Then maybe your world needs changing. The challenge hung between them, electric and foolish. His men shifted nervously. No one spoke to Ginho like that. No one survived it. But he smiled, a real smile that transformed his face from marble into something almost human. Careful, Amara. You're starting to sound like you belong here. His name was Kongdae, Ginho's second-in-command, built like a tank with a scar splitting his lip. He cornered Amara in the hallway one night, his expression unreadable. Boss is different since you came. He lit a cigarette despite the no-smoking signs.
Softer.
That's dangerous. Maybe dangerous is what he needs. Kongdae laughed, sharp and humorless. You don't get it. Men like us don't do soft. We do survival. He exhaled smoke. But he watches you when you're not looking. Like you're a puzzle he can't solve. I'm just Minji's caretaker. Keep telling yourself that. He flicked ash onto the marble floor. But when this goes sideways, and it will, don't say, I didn't warn you. He walked away, leaving Amara with the uncomfortable truth that she'd noticed Ginho's stares too. The way his presence seemed to fill whatever room she occupied. How his eyes followed her hands when she braided Minji's hair, like he was memorizing something precious. If you do the same thing, subscribe to Mystic Tale by Luna, and tell me where you're watching from. The attack came during Minji's music lesson. Amara was helping her find the piano keys when glass exploded inward. Men in black masks poured through the shattered windows, weapons raised. Minji screamed. Amara's body moved before her brain caught up. She threw herself over the girl, driving them both behind the piano as bullets chewed through wood and plaster. Stay down. Amara pressed Minji flat, covering her with her own body. More gunfire. Shouts in Korean. The thunder of feet on marble. Minji sobbed against her shoulder, trembling so hard Amara feared she'd shatter. Then a hand grabbed Amara's hair, yanking her backward. Pain exploded across her scalp. She twisted, slamming her elbow into someone's ribs, but he was stronger. A knife flashed. "The blind bitch first," the man snarled. Amara lunged. The blade meant for Minji caught her shoulder instead, slicing through flesh and muscle. She screamed but didn't let go, clinging to the attacker like a drowning woman to driftwood. They crashed into the piano, keys shrieking discordantly. More gunshots, these precise, controlled. The attacker above her jerked and fell, blood spraying warm across her face. Kongdae appeared, smoking pistol in hand, his expression murderous. "Clear the room," he roared. Ginho's men swarmed in, professional and lethal. The remaining attackers fell or fled within seconds. Then silence, broken only by Minji's quiet sobs. "Amara?" Minji's hands searched blindly. "Amara, please. I'm here." Amara crawled back to her despite the fire spreading through her shoulder. "I'm okay." But blood soaked her shirt, dripping onto the white keys. Minji's fingers found the wet warmth and she gasped. "You're hurt. You're hurt because of me."
Hush.
"I'm fine. Where is she?" Ginho's voice cut through everything else. He appeared in the doorway, suit splattered with blood that wasn't his, gun still drawn. His eyes found Minji first, checking, cataloging, confirming safety. Then they landed on Amara. The gun fell from his hand. He crossed the room in 3 strides, dropping to his knees beside her. His hands hovered over her bleeding shoulder, shaking, actually shaking. "You're bleeding." "Just a scratch." "You're bleeding." He repeated it like an accusation, like she'd betrayed him by getting hurt. His fingers touched her shoulder with impossible gentleness, and she hissed. "Kongdae, get the medic."
Now.
"Appa, is she?" "She's fine." But his voice cracked on the words. He cupped Amara's face, forcing her to meet his eyes. "You shielded her. You took the knife meant for my daughter." "What else was I going to do?" Something broke behind his eyes, that careful control he wore like armor. His thumb brushed her cheek, wiping away blood and tears she hadn't realized she'd shed. "You risked your life," he whispered. "For us." The medic arrived, but Ginho wouldn't move. He held Amara's hand while the man cleaned and stitched the wound, his grip almost crushing. Minji clung to her other side, crying softly. They stayed like that, a strange trinity bound by blood and fear, until the pain medication pulled Amara under. She woke in silk sheets that cost more than her life. Late evening light painted Ginho's bedroom gold and crimson. He sat in a chair by her bed, jacket discarded, sleeves rolled up, a bottle of whiskey dangling from one hand. "How long?" Her voice was rough. 8 hours. He didn't look at her, staring instead at the Seoul skyline. "They were Choi's men. He wanted to hurt me through her. Did you handle it?" "Yes." He took a long drink. "Choi won't be a problem anymore." The casual way he said it made her shiver. This was his world, violence as currency, death as solution. And she'd stepped into it willingly. Minji.
Sleeping.
Kongdae's guarding her. Finally, he turned to face her. His eyes were bloodshot, haunted. "You almost died tonight, but I didn't. You should have run. Let them take her. Saved yourself." His voice dropped to something raw and dangerous. "Why didn't you run?" Amara pushed herself up, ignoring the pull of stitches. "Because that's not who I am. You don't belong in this world. Neither does your daughter. But here we are." He stood abruptly, pacing like a caged animal. "You don't understand. Everyone I touch dies or betrays me. It's safer if you... If I what? Leave? Pretend tonight didn't happen?" She threw back the sheets, swaying as she stood. "You can't protect everyone by shutting them out. You think I'm heartless?" He whirled on her, eyes blazing. "I think you're terrified." The words hung between them like a lit fuse. Ginho stared at her, chest heaving, jaw clenched so hard she heard teeth grinding. Then he moved. 3 steps closed the distance. His hands framed her face, and before she could breathe, his mouth claimed hers. The kiss was desperate, consuming, all the control he wielded like a weapon shattered into raw need. Amara gasped against his lips and he deepened the kiss, backing her against the wall. His body pressed into hers, solid and trembling. "I can't stop thinking about you," he growled against her mouth. "Since that first night, watching you defy me, change her, make me want." She pulled him back into another kiss, swallowing whatever confession threatened to spill out. Her hands found his hair, his neck, mapping muscle and scars. The world narrowed to breath and heat and the dangerous electricity sparking between them. "This is a mistake," she whispered. "I know. Your world will eat me alive. I know." His hands slid down her sides, careful of her injury. "Tell me to stop." But she wouldn't. Instead, she pulled him toward the bed, need overriding every logical warning her brain screamed. They collided like storms, messy, desperate, real. His gentleness surprised her, the way he touched her like something precious even as passion burned between them. She learned the geography of his scars, the places bullets and knives had tried to end him. He memorized her gasps, the sounds she made when his hands found sensitive spots. Afterwards, wrapped in sheets and sweat, reality tried creeping back in. But Ginho pulled her closer, his heartbeat steady against her back. "Stay," he murmured into her hair. "I'm not going anywhere." But even as she said it, doubt whispered that whatever this was, couldn't last in a world built on violence. Dawn crept through the windows like an unwelcome truth. Amara woke first, Ginho's arm heavy across her waist. In sleep, he looked younger, less haunted. Almost normal. She tried to slip free carefully, but his fingers caught her wrist before she'd moved an inch. "Don't run from this." His eyes opened, dark and knowing. "I'm not running. I'm afraid." "Terrified," she admitted. He pulled her back down, pressing a kiss to her temple. "Good. That means you're smart." Morning light felt like an interrogation. Amara dressed quickly, her shoulders screaming protest with every movement. Ginho watched from the bed, sheet draped low across his hips, expression unreadable. "This can't happen again," she said, not meeting his eyes. "Why not?" "Because you're you, and I'm the woman who makes me forget why I became this." He stood, pulling on his pants with efficient grace. "Don't pretend last night was nothing." But it terrified her precisely because it was everything. She fled before he could see that truth written across her face. Avoidance became her religion. Amara threw herself into Minji's care, mapping new routes through the estate, teaching her to cook simple meals by touch and smell. Anything to keep busy, to not think about Ginho's hands on her skin. Minji noticed immediately. "You're different today," the girl said during breakfast, her head tilting with that eerie perception blind people sometimes developed. "Nervous." "Why?" "I'm not nervous. You keep dropping things. You've rearranged my juice glass 3 times. Minji smiled, sly and knowing. "Did something happen with Appa?" Heat flooded Amara's cheeks. "Nothing happened. Liar." Minji's grin widened. "He's been different too." Distracted. "He called me by your name this morning." "He what?"
Twice.
Then he got this look, like someone caught him stealing. She leaned closer, conspiratorial. "He likes you." "Your father doesn't like anyone." "He likes you." Minji's certainty was absolute. "I can tell by how quiet he gets when you're in the room. Like he's afraid breathing too loud will make you disappear." The observation lodged in Amara's chest like shrapnel. She changed the subject, but Minji's words haunted her through lunch, through afternoon lessons, through every moment she caught herself scanning rooms for Ginho's presence. He found her in the library that evening. Amara was reading aloud to Minji, some fantasy novel about dragons and impossible choices. She felt him before she saw him, that electric awareness that prickled her skin whenever he was near. "Minji, go upstairs," Ginho said quietly. "I need to speak with Amara." "But we're at the good part."
"Now."
His daughter huffed but obeyed, using her cane to navigate out. The door clicked shut with devastating finality. Ginho crossed to where Amara sat, his footsteps silent on Persian carpet. You've been avoiding me. I've been working. You've been running. He knelt before her chair, forcing her to meet his gaze. Why? Because looking at him hurt. Because every cell in her body remembered last night and wanted more. Because she was falling and there was no safe place to land. This isn't real, she whispered. What we did, it was adrenaline, fear, proximity. Don't. His hands found hers, thumb tracing her knuckles. Don't cheapen it with excuses. What do you want from me? Everything. The word was raw, honest. And that terrifies me more than any bullet ever has. Before she could respond, Minji's voice called from the hallway. Appa? Amara? Where did everyone go? The moment shattered. Ginho stood, composing himself with visible effort. We're coming. But his fingers lingered on Amara's shoulder as he passed, a ghost touch that promised unfinished conversations. The days blurred into a dangerous rhythm. Ginho found excuses to be near her, checking Minji's progress, reviewing security protocols, appearing in rooms Amara occupied with implausible frequency. Their eyes met across dinner tables. Hands brushed when passing doorways. Unspoken longing charged the air between them like a live wire. Minji orchestrated with the subtlety of a sledgehammer. Appa, can you help Amara reach that book? It's too high for her. Amara, doesn't Appa look handsome today? Tell him. Why don't you two take a walk? I'll be fine here. Alone. Totally safe. Her machinations would have been amusing if they weren't so effective. Ginho and Amara found themselves thrown together constantly, tension building with each forced proximity. 3 days after their night together, Amara's stitches needed changing. The estate doctor was delayed at another property. Ginho appeared in her doorway holding medical supplies, his expression carefully neutral. I can do it myself, she protested. Your dominant hand is injured. Unless you've developed ambidexterity overnight, sit down. She sat. He moved behind her, gentle fingers peeling away the old dressing. His breath was warm against her neck. The intimacy of it, him seeing her wounds, touching her with such care, felt more dangerous than any kiss. It's healing well, he murmured, cleaning the wound with careful swipes. No infection. You sound surprised. You heal fast. Like you're determined not to let anything slow you down. His hands trembled slightly as he applied fresh gauze. You could have died that night. But I didn't. Because you're either brave or reckless, and I can't decide which terrifies me more. He secured the bandage with tape, but his hands didn't move away. They rested on her shoulders, warm and solid. You risked your life for us. The echo of words he'd said before, but weighted differently now. Amara turned to face him, close enough to see gold flecks in his dark eyes. I'd do it again, she whispered. His jaw clenched. That's what scares me. They stared at each other, the air thick with everything unsaid. Then Minji called from her room, needing help with something trivial, and the spell broke. Have you ever felt this? Comment your experience, and where you're watching from. Kongdae cornered her again, this time in the garage while she waited for a car. Park spotted movement in the south sector. Surveillance picked up chatter about the boss's weakness. He lit a cigarette, exhaling smoke through his scarred lip. They mean you. Amara's blood chilled. I'm just his weakness. Don't be stupid. Kongdae studied her with something almost like pity. Rival gangs see how he looks at you. They're circling like sharks smelling blood. What do they want? To hurt him where it matters. His daughter's protected by blood and honor codes. But you, he flicked ash. You're nobody. Fair game. The casual cruelty of it stole her breath. In Ginho's world, she was expendable. A liability dressed up as affection. Does he know? He knows. Kongdae's expression hardened. That's why he's been impossible lately. Tripled security. Executed 2 men for mentioning your name. He's trying to protect you by terrifying everyone else. That's insane. That's love in our world. Violence wrapped in devotion. He dropped the cigarette, crushing it under expensive shoes. Question is, are you willing to live with that? Or will you run before it kills you? She found Ginho in his office that night, city lights painting him in shades of loneliness. Documents scattered his desk, surveillance photos, threat assessments, her name highlighted repeatedly in red. You're a target now. He didn't turn around. Because of me. Kangdae told me. I should send you away. Somewhere safe. Far from this world. His hands curled into fists. But I'm selfish enough to want you close, even knowing it might destroy you. Amara closed the distance between them. Then let me choose. Stop making decisions for me. You don't understand what you're asking. Explain it then. Stop pushing me away and talk to me. He spun to face her, and the naked vulnerability in his expression stole her breath. This wasn't the dangerous Mafia lord. This was just a man, terrified of losing something precious. Everyone I care about dies or leaves. My wife, Minji's mother, she couldn't handle this life. Walked into traffic rather than spend another day married to a monster. His voice cracked. My brother betrayed me for money. My father died because I was too slow pulling the trigger. Everyone. I'm still here.
For now.
But this world. He gestured helplessly at the photos, the evidence of threats circling. It corrupts everything it touches. And you're so bright, so alive. I'll watch you dim until there's nothing left but survival instinct and fear. She grabbed his face, forcing him to look at her. Listen to me. I grew up in Lagos during chaos. I watched my mother survive on grit and prayers. I crossed an ocean alone to build something better. I'm not some fragile thing that breaks under pressure. You're not like us. No, I'm different. And maybe that's what you need. She softened her grip, thumb stroking his cheek. You've built an empire on fear, Ginho. But your daughter laughs now.
She dreams.
Because I showed her she's more than your blind princess locked in a tower. And what'd he show me? That you can be more than the monster you've convinced yourself you are. The confession hung between them, raw and terrifying. Ginho's eyes searched hers, looking for lies, for the moment she'd flinch away from his truth. Instead, she kissed him. This kiss was different from their desperate collision, slower, deliberate, weighted with understanding. His hands slid into her hair, cradling her head like something impossibly precious. When they broke apart, both were breathing hard. I didn't plan to fall for you, Amara whispered against his lips. But I did. I've killed men for less than what they did to my daughter. His forehead pressed against hers. But you make me want to be something better. Someone worthy of the way Minji looks at me when you're around. You're already worthy.
No.
But maybe I could be. With you. He pulled back, cupping her face. Stay by my side. Not just as Minji's caretaker. As yours. Mine. The possessiveness should have scared her. Instead, it felt like safety. I'm not going anywhere, she promised. They stood like that, forehead to forehead, breathing each other's air. Outside, Seoul glittered with dangers they both knew existed. But inside this moment, they were just two people choosing each other despite impossible odds. Neither noticed the figure watching from shadows across the street. Didn't see the camera capturing their embrace through the office window. Couldn't hear the voice on the encrypted phone, speaking in rapid Korean. Confirmed. He's compromised. The Nigerian woman. Find everything. The response crackled back. Already done. You won't believe what we found. Send it. Let's watch him burn. The figure disappeared into Seoul's neon-soaked night, leaving Ginho and Amara wrapped in borrowed time. Inside, Minji pressed her ear against the office door, smiling at the low murmur of voices. Her father laughed, actually laughed, and she memorized the sound like a prayer. Finally, she whispered to herself. Finally, he's happy. But happiness in their world was a luxury with an expiration date. And somewhere in the darkness, that clock was ticking down. The envelope arrived at dawn. Kangdae brought it to Ginho's office, his scarred face grim. No address, no postmark, just Ginho's name written in precise Korean characters. Inside were photographs, documents, a past Amara thought she'd buried crossing the ocean. Ginho spread them across his desk like autopsy reports. His father, staring at surveillance photos from 15 years ago. A younger man in military uniform, proud, strong Nigerian. The same eyes Amara saw in her mirror. Her father, Kongde said quietly. Colonel Emmanuel Okoye. He was investigating weapons smuggling between Lagos and Seoul in 2010. Your syndicate's operation. Ginho's hands stilled over a death certificate. We didn't. Your father ordered it. Clean removal, made to look like a robbery. Kongde pulled out another photo. Emmanuel's body, blood-stained, discarded in an alley.
She was 12.
Witnessed the whole thing from a car window. The room tilted. Ginho gripped the desk, knuckles white. Does she know? Unknown. But someone sent this to destroy you. Kongde's voice carried reluctant sympathy. If she's been playing you for revenge. Get out, boss.
Get out. Kongde left.
Ginho stared at the photographs, at Amara's father's face, seeing the same fierce defiance his daughter wore like armor. The same unwillingness to back down. And his syndicate, his family, had murdered him. The betrayal cut deeper than any knife. Amara was braiding Minji's hair when Ginho's shadow fell across them. His expression stopped her heart. Cold, closed, the monster she'd convinced herself didn't exist. Minji, leave us. His voice was ice. But Appa.
Now.
The girl hesitated, sensing the danger crackling in the air. Amara squeezed her hand. It's okay. Go. Minji left reluctantly, her cane tapping nervous rhythms down the hallway. The door closed. Ginho threw the envelope onto the bed between them. Photographs spilled out like accusations. Amara's world stopped. Her father's face stared up at her, young alive, before Seoul swallowed him whole. Before she became an orphan with nothing but grief and an ocean to cross. Explain. Ginho's gun appeared in his hand, casual and devastating.
Now.
I didn't, her voice cracked. I didn't know it was you. Liar. I didn't know. She lunged forward, grabbing the photos with shaking hands. My father died investigating weapon smuggling. The Nigerian police said it was a robbery. I was 12, Ginho. I didn't know who killed him until... Until when? He stepped closer, gun raised. Until you showed up at my restaurant? Positioned yourself to infiltrate my life. Until 3 days ago. The confession exploded from her. Kongde mentioned your father's operations in Lagos. I searched old files. Found the connection. Tears blurred her vision. I didn't know before that. I swear. Why should I believe you? Because if I wanted revenge, you'd already be dead. She threw the photos at him. I've had 1,000 chances. Your food. Your drink. A knife while you slept. But I didn't take them because this. She gestured between them, voice breaking. This wasn't part of any plan. Was sleeping with me part of it? Getting close to my daughter? The accusation struck like a physical blow. Don't you dare. Don't cheapen what we have. What we have. He laughed, sharp and bitter. We have lies. Your dead father and my father's crimes. Blood that won't wash clean. I didn't plan to fall for you. The truth ripped from her throat. But I did. And now I'm standing here watching you destroy us because you're too afraid to believe anything good can exist in your world. Give me one reason not to end this. He pressed the gun to her forehead, hand steady, eyes dead. One reason to trust anything that comes from your mouth. Amara met his gaze, without flinching. Because you know me. Not the girl whose father you killed. Not some enemy wearing a mask. Me. The woman who sees past your violence to the man trying to be a father. The person who makes your daughter smile. Her voice softened. The one you let see you cry. His finger trembled on the trigger. I never cry. You did. That first night, after I was stabbed. You thought I was asleep, but I felt your tears on my shoulder. She reached up slowly, wrapping her fingers around the gun barrel. Pull a trigger if you want. But know that you're killing the best thing that's happened to you in years. The silence stretched like a wire about to snap. Then the door burst open. Appa, don't. Minji stumbled in, arms outstretched, her cane forgotten. She crashed into Ginho, small hands clutching his coat. Please don't hurt her. Please. Minji, this doesn't concern. It concerns me. Tears streamed down the girl's face. She's the only person who sees me. Not the blind daughter. Not the weakness.
Me.
Her fingers found Amara's hand, pulling them together. She sees you too, Appa. The real you. You don't understand what she... I understand you're about to push away the best thing in our lives. Minji's voice cracked with desperation. Mom left because you couldn't let anyone in. Uncle betrayed you because you trusted the wrong person. But Amara? She jumped in front of a knife for me. She stayed when everyone else ran. Her father is dead because of choices made before any of us existed. The girl's wisdom cut through excuses. You can't change the past, Appa. But you can choose what happens next. You can choose fear and loneliness. Or you can choose us. Ginho stared at his daughter, then at Amara, the gun heavy in his hand. Every instinct screamed danger. Trust nothing. Kill the threat. Survive. But Minji was smiling through tears, hope written across her face. And Amara looked at him like he was more than the sum of his sins. The gun fell from his hand, clattering against marble. I've built an empire on fear. His voice cracked, years of armor splintering. Turn myself into something unlovable because love was weakness. But you... He looked at Amara, really looked. You make me feel human. And that terrifies me more than any bullet. Amara's hand found his, fingers intertwining. Then choose trust. Just this once. If you're lying, I'm not. She squeezed harder. I'm angry. Furious that your family took mine. That we're connected by violence and death. But I'm not lying about this. Her free hand pressed against his chest, over his racing heart. I didn't plan to fall for you. But here I am. Choosing you despite every reason not to. Minji grabbed both their hands, linking them together. Choose us, Appa. Please. The weight of the choice pressed down like atmosphere. Ginho had spent 20 years building walls, convinced isolation was survival. But these two, his daughter and the woman who'd stormed his carefully constructed hell, they'd shattered every defense. He pulled Amara into his arms, holding her like a lifeline. Stay by my side. Both of you. I'm not going anywhere, Amara whispered against his chest. Minji wrapped her arms around them both, completing the circle. For the first time in years, Ginho felt the walls crack, letting in something dangerous and fragile. Hope. They stood like that for long minutes, a strange family bound by trauma and choice. Eventually, Minji pulled back, smiling through drying tears. We're a family now, she said with absolute certainty. Right? Ginho looked at Amara, searching for confirmation. He wasn't imagining this impossible thing. Right, Amara agreed, though doubt still whispered warnings. Then we celebrate. Minji clapped her hands. With cake. And music. And no guns. Despite everything, Ginho laughed. Raw and real. No guns. I promise. As Minji dragged them toward the kitchen, chattering about chocolate versus vanilla, Amara caught Ginho's hand. He squeezed back, a silent acknowledgement that they'd chosen the hardest path. Love in a world built for violence. Trust where betrayal was currency. Hope against all evidence. But for this moment, watching Minji's joy, feeling Ginho's warmth beside her, Amara let herself believe. Maybe they could survive this. Maybe choosing each other was enough. Across the city, in a penthouse overlooking the same Seoul skyline, a man watched surveillance footage. His smile was patient, predatory. Let him enjoy this moment, Park Jae-sung murmured to his second-in-command. Let him believe love conquered all. When do we move?
Soon.
Let the girl settle in deeper. Let him drop his guard completely. Jae-sung paused the video on Ginho's smiling face, rare, unguarded, human. Then we'll take everything. His empire, his daughter, his pathetic hope. And the woman? Make it hurt. Make him watch. Jae-sung's eyes glinted with malice. He took my brother. I'll take his soul. The screen flickered, showing Ginho, Amara, and Minji laughing in the kitchen. 3 people believing they'd found something worth protecting. 3 people with no idea the storm gathering in the darkness. Jae-sung raised his glass to the screen. To family. And the beautiful way it destroys us. The image faded to black, Seoul's lights glittering below like promises waiting to be broken.